This conference will now be recorded.
All right, I'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting for the business
Make
meeting.
sure you
for
talk into the microphone.
Oh. Calling to order the regularly scheduled, call to order. Regularly scheduled business meeting of the Copley Township Trustees, December 28th, 2020 at 6 p.m. In favor, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And how many? We have Loudon on. We have present. We are at the town hall. All three trustees are present. Jim Schulte, Bruce Corner, myself. We have with us Pfeiffer, our fiscal officer, Janice Marshall, our administrator, police chief Michael Meyer, service director Mark Mitchell, and fire chief Chris Bauer. And remotely, we have our director of economic development, Loudon Klein. Anybody I missed for the list? All right. We have another 9 people signed on. I don't see it. Is he on there? Oh, yes. We have Township Council, David Fires. Thank you, David.
There it is. Hi, David.
Welcome. Thank you. Hope
Hello.
everybody had a nice holiday. And we have another holiday coming up. This weekend, we still have restrictions, and with our personnel in place with COVID, but all of our facilities are manned and open. All of our services are, I'll say, readily available from Copley Township for all departments. And that will continue going into the new year, and we will make our decisions for any changes as the national and state and county offices continue to monitor COVID and whatever information we receive or whatever restrictions or mandates and things that are optional, then we decide for ourselves. So this time, Board of Trustees, we're going to look at the election of officers for 2021. And I'll nominate Bruce Corner to chair the meeting.
I'll nominate Bruce Gollner to chair.
Right. I'll second. I don't know if we have to officially close nominations. We can just, I will call for the question. I vote yes.
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 Nice.
And I'll nominate trustee Schulte for vice president.
I'll second. Discussion, call for the question. I vote yes.
Yes.
Definitely no. I mean, yes.
All right, next, the appointment of representatives to Southwest Summit Council of Governments. Now, the cities have it in, I think in their charter that their mayor is on the board. Ours had been the time, though, then you're just a representative. The board itself elects their officers, president, vice president, and fiscal, and those are just for that council of government. The Swisscom board runs Swisscom. This is just the authoritative portion.
There's a,
However, so I've done it actually since the beginning, but to be the representative there, we never rotated, but I'd like someone else to do it. So that's why I have it on here.
what does it entail?
Well, it's just, the meetings are to discuss similarly to this, they'll come and the board from Swisscom recommends all of the hires, and they do all of the interviews, and Chris works with that. And then they have, we approve the budget they put together, and they're just everything for running the Joint Dispatch Center. At some point, it has to be approved. Same with the budgets and so forth by the Council of Governments. The operations side's run by the Swisscom, which is the community representatives from the departments. So we have either police chief or fire chief or both. They all participate depending on who's at the meetings. And then there is a person that we have a manager for Swisscom also that runs it. But it's a 24/7 obviously operation that we have. And we also have IT we created through there to share IT services. There's a savings there also for ourselves through Swisscom. So we have contracted, since we had to have our primary IT use over the years had been focused with radios, and the communication with dispatch was always a priority, and a lot of our hardware and software was primarily for that department. So when that was pulled out, we still needed the focus to be there. Then at one point, Barberton said they wanted to have their IT there, and so we all ended up using that as a centralized IT. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. The budget for that, we're going to talk more about Swisscom. This is for who wants to be on this.
How often do they meet, Scott?
Do you want to do it?
How often do they meet?
Right now, they want to meet, we just meet virtually once a month. There used to be, it varies, and it's up to the board for Swisscom. We met every 3 months. You can meet every 2 months. The board decides if they need to meet, if they have to hire someone right away, kind of like here. So it's a virtual meeting. We just go on the phone. So it's like a half hour.
Well, you say you've done your duty on it. You want to step aside for a second.
Yeah.
So let me ask the question.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking of Bruce's background and my background. Which background can add the most to the job?
Probably yours. At this point, we're bringing Springfield in, and that's another discussion on how we're going to budget, and then the other part of that is, so over the years, and I talked to Janice recently, looking at, what our costs are. We looked at, and the formula, so all those things were agreed to, and I think it does need restructured. And then Springfield has just come in.
Yeah.
So eventually things cost more, but initially you have to put in the upfront costs, so we're sharing IT costs and a lot of things. But to reassess, we're getting a better service, how much money do we save? Even if we all don't save the same amount, even if somebody, kind of like with Bath, when we did the joint fire station, we split it down they always split everything in half. When really they were only maybe a third of the service.
Yeah.
But that's what they wanted. Then when we said, we'll prorate it, and they said, no, they just want it out and do their own kind of. So, things change. So we have this group, and these are the costs and these services. Someone like you could look at that a little closer. Yeah, we brought in Michelle Colopy, who's very good right now. She's outstanding on working with that group. She's just part-time. And
Okay.
Janet also had worked with that group.
So that you, in your opinion, that's more important than I'm thinking Bruce's fire background. And
Yeah, I think at this stage, because they have a Swiss com board with all the fire chiefs, police chiefs. So that background exists for the group.
what's your pleasure, Bruce?
Really, I'll do either. The only, I'm on CIC now. I prefer not to do both, if possible. And I want to have an open conversation about the CIC while we're doing this, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. That's fine. No, this is why we're having the meeting, to see who does what.
So the CIC is, as everybody knows, is still in its infancy, but doing well. But there's a common, I'm not gonna say opinion, but there's an aura out there that they're wondering what the Township Board of Trustees, we are sort of together, but separate entities. What are the Board of Trustees actually wanting from the CIC? And I espouse what I believe what the board wants. And at times, I think it would be advantageous. And Loudon, can you hear me, Loudon? Okay. I have not spoke to Loudon about this, but I'd like to get his input as well. I think that if they heard a similar opinion from another trustee, it would sort of drive home the fact that what we're trying to get done, rather than creating I'm not gonna say they're afraid of their shadow, they're not, but it gives them more of an idea. But I can do either. It doesn't make any difference to me. So I just want to put it out there. I'd rather not do both. It might be good to rotate another trustee into the CIC. I see some advantages to that. Ms. Marshall, you're on the board as well. Do you share my opinion there?
Well, I guess at this point, then I would say if Jim wanted to do CIC and you wanted to do the one, I could do CIC, but I don't.
Again, I
I'll
don't matter.
defer to Jim then. He's throwing CIC into the mix as another option.
Well, I think it's
If
good
you'd
to
like to do that
I
one.
think it's good to divide and conquer. I'll serve on Swisscog or CIC, wherever you think I could do the most good.
Yeah.
And I'll do the same. I really, I'll one or the other. I'd rather not do both,
Not really, just joking.
if that's okay.
Okay.
When does?
So you want to switch CIC though, kind of what you're saying.
Well, do you see my opinion? I'd like to ask Loudon and Janice their opinions as well.
Well, and Loudon chime in, but I would say that the direction that Loudon is moving with having an agreement between the CIC and the Board of Trustees would go a long way in helping what you're talking about.
Resolve
So,
the,
yeah, so that the CIC would understand what their role is in the township a little bit more clearly. So I think that agreement is paramount to getting that type of working relationship going. As far as what representative goes to the CIC, I think it's understood that whoever is going to the CIC is speaking for the entire board, not just themselves. So, I mean, that is kind of the role of that representative, is to represent the board as a whole, not just their own personal views or whatever. So, you know, the communication between the three of you about what is happening in the CIC is important so that that information can get generated back to the CIC. But again, I think the agreement, I think the CIC needs some guidance as to what direction and what their role is. And I think that agreement that Loudon is putting forth is going to be helpful.
I do see that.
And Loudon, you feel free.
Yeah, I think you covered it pretty much. I think the agreement would. You can't hear me?
it says he's not muted. It says mute Loudon as organizer. Is he the organizer?
He is an organizer.
You gotta unmute him. There you go.
I don't know why, Loudon, but we can't hear you.
Okay.
Did we get my wife on that connection?
Yeah, could we just listen to him and not see him?
It
The
said he's
mute button, that's an old joke people have used for the remote, trying to mute you. Mute that.
Feel free to call our phone if you'd like.
Oh, are you on the phone? Because I did
Muted your
mute somebody
phone.
on a phone.
I don't know what he's on. There's 2 cams.
I could hear you when you were talking loud, and I don't know if I'm the only one.
All right, well, Jim. So you're both good
Just call
for,
somebody's phone.
Yeah,
you guys,
I'm good for wherever you think I can do the most good for the township. That's where I would
What's the,
serve. I can personally, I can see
either one,
economic
but you don't want
development.
to do both.
I'd prefer not to. I could. I mean, certainly others on this board have borne more of a load than I have in the past. I could do both if that's what you want me to do.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But I think I'm gonna leave it up to your experience.
Let me just say this. You know, economic development is near and dear to my heart.
Right.
That says CIC. But I, just like Springfield Township, was appalled at the cost that Copley Township pays for Swisscom. So, maybe getting in there and actually seeing the numbers myself either satisfies and quells my fears, or maybe we spot some reductions. So I can see where I can add value in both. I'll serve where you want me to serve, either or both.
I'm the
Well,
same way.
here's what we can do. We can switch them at any time. So why don't you stay with CIC for now and you go with Swisscom?
You got it.
And then after 6 months, you can switch, or I can go back to doing one of them,
That's fine.
CIC, I could do one of those also, but.
All right, I'll jump into Swisscom.
All right, so I nominate
Hey,
Jim
this is Loudon.
Schulte
Can you
to
hear
be
me?
our representative to the Southwest Summit Council of Governments.
And I'll second.
Discussion, other than the long discussion that we just,
Can we just see if we can hear Loudon?
no. So I'll call for the vote. I vote yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Okay. Sorry, Loudon. Got it.
I called in. Can you still not hear
Not
me?
your fault, not blaming you.
Can you
Thanks
hear
for
me?
coming. All right, Linda, you're up.
I have one
Do you
other
want
thing
to
in the board of
thank you,
trustees.
Scott?
Oh, Board of Trustees. Oh, you have to reappoint CIC. It's not on here.
No, it's
No,
not. No.
if it's staying the same, I guess.
Go ahead,
Um,
Linda.
Okay.
You had a
I have one
question?
thing when you're.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Bruce, go ahead.
We
Board of
had,
Trustees.
I'm sorry, we're under Board of Trustees. You may or may not know that there was a incident that the safety chiefs know about that happened yesterday. I think there's probably, I asked to have some conversation with Chief Bauer about it. And I think what we'd like to do is ask the chiefs to come up with a list of strengths, weaknesses, and recommendations, particularly on communications, on if we should have, or if we have an incident such as like last night's call is a low frequency, very, very low frequency type call with, could have devastating outcomes. So if there's something that we need to do for you folks under the board to build a better communication system, we talked about reverse 911, some other things that the county might do. But anyway, I'd like to see from the safety chiefs a list of strengths, weaknesses, and recommendations that you would like us to do. Social media was a question as well. So should that type of an incident be posted on social media? So anything that would go along with it.
Hey, Bruce, can you hear me?
It sounded like it went well. Obviously came out with a great outcome. But if there's anything that we should have done on the administrative level is more what I'm looking at. So that's what I'm asking.
I didn't hear about it after the vote. It's a caucus.
Mhm.
I think the one thing that makes this one particularly troubling is the follow the footprints of these kids that live in the pond. There might have been some ice in the pond. I think somebody said the possibility of being called through the ice on their feet in the pond. So the fire department notified some kind of dive team. That's worrisome. That could have happened, unfortunately. It wasn't. We get a lot of cases that have been later. The children go missing. This is all hands on deck. Look at all the places where you think it might be. Many officers and firefighters to get there with people on sledding. Couldn't put it on social media, but usually these children are located pretty quick.
Well, what I'm looking for, Chief, is there are guidelines for urban search. And it goes by demographics of the individual you're looking for, and when we should not notify, and if we do notify, how do we do so? Because it's going to entail our social media administrator and such. So I'm just looking to build some. Everything went fine. I'm not saying there's any issues. I just would like to know if there are other things that we need to do as a board of trustees to enhance what we can do. That's what I'm looking for. So, for example, what comes to my mind is communication interaction with the county and social media. Those are a couple of things that we may be able to address or gain access to that we could be used if needed. I'm not saying last night's issue was an issue or was an instance where that could have been needed, but if there's some strengths or weaknesses that we need to address, we need to know that. So if you would give us a report on that, I'd appreciate it. That's all I have.
Okay. All right, Linda.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Good evening, everyone. This morning I sent meeting minutes for December 7th or November 24th and December 7th at 3:30 this afternoon. Janice had some changes, so those changes have not been done yet. So I will move that for the next meeting. And the December 9th meeting, which was quite lengthy, I'm still working on. So we'll move on to the motion to approve the Board of Trustees special meeting minutes of December 11th, 2020.
So moved, Schulte.
Second.
Corrections?
I have not had, this one was not part of the email, correct?
This was sent out probably a week and a half
Oh, okay.
ago.
This is the one then. It's right here for me.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Fine, me.
Call for the vote. I vote yes.
Yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. And next is a resolution approving the purchase orders and blanket certificates for 2021.
So move.
No second. We did one minutes?
We only approved the 11th.
Yeah, the only 11th is generally approved.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve purchase orders, blanket certificates of 2021 discussion. Please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have a resolution to approve the credit card processing policy.
So move.
Second, Schulte.
Discussion.
Back to the same question we had last time. Is it going to be a policy in the policy manual? That's all the question I have.
That's up to you guys. That's up to your board. This is a policy. I represent the people and protect the people.
I understand that. The issue is, if it's a policy to go in the township policy manual, we don't make policy for fiscal office. If
This
you
is
want
a-
this policy in the fiscal office, you can approve it yourself. But if this is going to go in the policy manual, in the township employee policy manual for our employees, for the board of trustee employees to use, is that what you're asking?
I would recommend it going into the,
I think it has to be, Bruce, because this extends beyond the fiscal office. You're putting credit card processing in the hands
Right,
of
other
non-fiscal
people.
employees.
I have no issue with that, but there is a procedure to put policies in the policy manual.
okay.
And this isn't following it.
Explain that to
You have to
me.
post it for 14 days.
Okay,
It has to be written in the policy format. Those are the two biggest glaring ones there.
We discussed this last time on the 14 days.
Correct.
So it'll have to be posted.
so you're asking me to write the policy?
No, it
Okay.
has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
You're saying there is a procedure
Mhm.
for putting information,
That's
or,
fine.
okay?
We can do
This
that.
is a discussion we had last meeting about this as well. So if this is policy, we have to follow the policy manual in putting a policy in it.
And I think you want it to be policy, Linda, I do.
Yeah, I think,
So,
it-
I have no issue with it.
so
yeah, so
therefore,
where do we go from here?
Follow the policy manual to put a policy in it.
Tell me what you want to do. You
It's
want
right
me
in
to
the
wait
policy manual.
14 days before we can start processing credit cards? Is that what you're saying?
That's what the policy manual says.
Okay,
If you want a
that's fine.
procedure, you want a fiscal office procedure, you could start, it's up to you. You can start that immediately. That's what we mentioned last meeting. If you want it as a policy, it has to go in as a policy.
Actually, this agenda's not right. I asked for procedure.
well, it says procedure, processing procedure.
Right. This
It
says
does.
policy, and she said policy, and she asked for the motion.
Yeah,
So I'm still at a loss. Is it a procedure or a policy?
it's policy.
So in order to create a policy, what has to happen? We have to
We vote on it and then it's
We
posted for 14 days.
vote on it and post it for 14 days.
People can comment.
So can we take what is here and get that process started now?
I don't think it can be done. It has to be written in the policy manual format as well.
And she can-
Ms. Marshall, can you answer that
We can
question?
pass this and then it can be
Well,
changed.
okay, so currently, this resolution refers to the fact that authorized users will be required to sign a credit card processing policy attached as Exhibit A. So there isn't an Exhibit A attached here. I would think that that is the portion that would be required to be posted for
Right.
14 days. So this resolution is just saying that we're going to follow Exhibit A.
Okay,
And there isn't an Exhibit A at this point. So if you're voting to post it, you don't know what you're voting to post.
okay,
We had previously had an Exhibit A on December 7th when we were
Right.
discussing this that had multiple questions asked of it.
right.
And I'm not sure if those were amended or changed or cleared up,
No,
but that was the Exhibit A on December 7th. So if we're posting something, we would need to know what that,
okay, I'll
Would
get you the Exhibit A.
So we have to table this until the next meeting, it sounds like, correct, Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you have the procedure and then you have Exhibit A attached.
So that I'm clear, we've accepted credit cards prior to December.
This is the,
I would-
we have a credit card policy for use of our cards. This is to take
This
payments.
is to accept cards.
And my point is, we've accepted cards in the past, haven't we?
no,
No,
Never.
we've never had a process to accept them, no.
We never had a system that you could pay.
Wow.
no.
Welcome to the 1980s. All right.
Yeah, I know, I'm trying to
Okay.
get it.
So what we've done to date is we've amended, and we're going to be voting on a policy that has been posted for 14 days that says those accepting the transactions have to pay attention to the confidentiality of the information that they're receiving. That's in the policy manual. We were then going to have a procedure that those administrative assistants would follow when they are processing a transaction. The policy in the policy manual has been posted, will be accepted hopefully tonight, that those people need to follow confidentiality and so forth, which is kind of what this is referring to. What we have been looking for is a process by which those administrative assistants can accept a transaction through a credit card process. So if we need to have that process as part of the policy as well, then we need to have the process printed out that everybody is in agreement to posting.
Okay. I can probably print it out here.
You want to have that for the
So,
next meeting?
I
Is that
I
your
have
plan?
it down here.
Yeah.
So did you change Exhibit A from the last meeting?
No,
Okay,
not
well, there were
changed.
questions on that Exhibit A
Mhm.
that the trustees
Right.
had regarding those items. So
Mhm.
if you're going to amend Exhibit A, then we need to see what that is. If you're putting it forth as is, then maybe, I don't know if the trustees have more questions or if they're comfortable with that Exhibit A that you had on December 7th.
If we could get it a few days ahead of time of the meeting and to
Okay.
review it, that would
All
help
right.
be helpful.
Okay. So what we need now is the Exhibit A. I have to go back to you guys. You guys have to talk about it, agree to it, and then it goes.
So you'll have to send it out to the trustees so they can read it. At the
Okay.
next meeting, they'll vote to post it.
Okay.
It'll be posted for 14
Okay.
days, and then after that 14 days, the next meeting, they can approve.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Are we okay now, Bruce?
We've tabled this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
it should be a policy.
It should be.
You're
there-
you're
like-
dealing
And we
with,
discussed last time, so we have a procedure, but we're also having a policy.
so, okay, very good.
We need both.
So we're tabling that. And lastly, I have a resolution authorizing the advancement of funds, and that is for taxes. It's an advancement of taxes assessed and collected and for and in behalf of Copley Township for the year of 2020 and 2021.
You're talking with Summit County.
Yeah,
Does it say it on there?
yeah. Yeah, they need a resolution.
Okay, so the copy I have says 19 and 20.
Right. I've
You've
got
amended it?
that
Okay,
corrected.
super.
I'm gonna make these corrections tonight before you say it.
And so this is for us to do what exactly? Get an
Well, we
advance
have
on
to,
the
we have
February
to
tax
get it to
bill?
Summit County.
Yeah.
We have a resolution in place saying that we can collect this money. It's a higher revised code,
When, because Bruce always pays ahead of time.
right?
You can send us
Oops,
the money.
sorry. I've never seen this before.
Well, it is done every year, but what it is authorizing the Summit County Fiscal Office to send us advances on the real estate taxes. They don't collect the real estate taxes until February, which means we don't really have a final number as to what we're going to get until April. But we receive advances on those funds each month, January, February, March, with a reconciliation then in April. This authorizes the fiscal officer of Summit County to send it to us in advance. If you don't have this in place, then you don't get your money until April and you can't function.
So the resolution we have, changing that 2019 and 2020 and 2020
Yeah.
to 2021.
Yeah, this was last
That's,
year's
all right.
resolution.
Did we have a first or second on this, Scott? I forget where we are here.
I don't think we have anything yet.
So moved.
Second, Schulte.
Go ahead. Any other questions?
Other than it was corrected, I see a 2019 here
Yeah,
as
I'll
well.
get
The
Okay, so-
copy I
I
have
have-
is 2019, so we'll have to
Yeah.
get a new one printed
Okay,
with the correct dates.
Wherever it says 19, you're gonna change to 20, wherever it says 20, you're gonna say change to 21.
Correct.
That would make sense.
This was last year's.
Okay.
I was in a hurry.
You say you got the other one there for us to sign, or you're printing it now?
As soon as I figure out how to get my pad working.
Anything else? Please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schultz?
Yes.
Thank you. And that's all I have. You've signed my checks. Yeah.
Places, right? Okay, as long as you know.
I'm gonna do it right now.
Okay.
You don't know.
Next batter,
Hmm?
next batter.
Are we all good, Linda? You have anything else?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
That's- thank
Anybody
you.
have anything for Linda? Janice,
Thank
at
you.
the plate.
My first request is a resolution adopting the 2021 temporary appropriations. They were sent out last week and so forth. There have been a couple changes to them. The worksheets that are attached to the resolution show those changes, and I'll just highlight most of what they are. There were a couple changes that were made because we had some requisitions that were approved for 2020 that would affect the carryover of the fund in 2031. So if you go to Fund 2031, that is the Road and Bridge Fund. It had a levy that was approved in this past November of 2020. The previous levy expires 12/31 of 2020. So the certificate does not include any monies that had not been approved by the voters as of August, September, October, when they initially send out the first certificate. So that amount is not included as appropriations. So the money that they'll have as part of the certificate, which you can appropriate then in temporary appropriations, is the carryover from 2020. So I needed to make an adjustment for the requisitions that were approved for purchase orders out of 2031. So that total number of $221,842.30 has been reappropriated for payroll expenses. We should get a new certificate as soon as the fiscal office sends them the ending balances for 2020. And that will capture then the new levy that was approved in November of 2020. So they will have enough to get through the first month until fiscal can close the books for 2020 and get those figures to the county. The other change that was made involves Swisscom. So when the budget was presented to the Swisscom board, and then following the SwissCog board, there was a change made in the contribution levels for Springfield. So currently, the first contribution level for Springfield was at 18.81%. This increased their contributions from a total of $218,000 in 2020 to a total of $459,448.55 in 2021. So the budget itself was met with some concern from both boards, the Swisscom board and the SwissCog board, in not only the level of expense that had been increasing, but the contribution level for Springfield. They were not prepared to pay that big of a jump in 2020, and they indicated that they needed some relief. The mayor of Norton proposed that we accept their contribution level at 15% for 2021. And the budget that then was presented to the SwissCog took that extra 3.81% and split it evenly between the other three communities. That increase then takes our contribution level up to, from its current level of 26.33, took it to 27.67% of the total budget. So our cost increased then from 643,130.27 to 675,860.79, which is a difference of $32,730.50. So that has been redistributed to the departments. The administration department in Copley pays 10%. The service department pays 20% of that cost, and police and fire both pay 35% of the cost. So these temporary appropriations reflect the increased cost. So I had indicated also that this budget, when it was presented to Swisscom and Swisscog, had caused some concern. So they approved it as a temporary budget. They also established a fiscal advisory committee with representatives from each community to review the budget as it was presented, to look at the carryovers from 2020, because all of that information isn't here yet. It may affect future contributions. It may affect how much each community needs to contribute. There also is some concern about the staffing levels of the dispatch center. That some feel that perhaps it was too high in 2020. It can be reduced, but want to make sure that that reduction still maintains a safe level of communication for the officers that are out there, the firefighters and so forth. So there's some work that needs to be done this first quarter with Swisscom and then eventually the Swisscog board. But it was required to have a temporary budget to put in place. So likewise, we have a temporary budget here, and it does include that higher amount. So you know that going into it.
So we also, so I said that at our last Swisscog meeting that there was concern on our part on Springfield's reallocation. And I said, we have a meeting on the 28th, so there's a Swisscog meeting tomorrow morning for our response going forward. And one of the responses was to take a closer look at the budget and look at a few different issues involved with that. So that's why we have a meeting tomorrow, because I said, well, our board has to discuss it.
So I understand that the addition of Springfield brings the total cost to the township down year over year. But it's very hard for any of us to look at somebody in Copley and say, we're taking some of your property taxes and helping to pay some of Springfield's expenses. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
What are the options there? Do you want to discuss it? Is this a forum to discuss this in?
Yeah. So when she's bringing up our temporary appropriations, what it involves our appropriation for Swisscom. And so Springfield said at the meeting, this was even 2 meetings ago, and I might bring Chief Bauer in here, but they claimed that they were given a different percentage to join, and so they've done their budget. They're not sure. And Chief, I'll ask you to fill in the blank, because you had Swisscom meeting and with the Springfield people. So at the meeting, they said they could do this amount, which, you know, it's completely last minute. And then Marizita of Norton says, all right, well, he says, well, Norton could take on it. And then Mayor Judge, and we didn't commit. So they're committed to keep Springfield in. And this is like, as Janice mentioned, we're doing temporary appropriations, take another look at the budget and see what else can be adjusted. And I said we would discuss it then here for our board. And I know exactly what you mean. So Springfield came in, they're saying, they're claiming misinformation is exactly what they're saying. We were told a certain percentage in dollar amount.
Yeah, I think they agree with the percentage. It was the dollar amount that was
So they looked at
different than. what
and
they
how
had.
that was arrived at with, we didn't receive grant money, was portion, and then using the PSAP money in the budget versus, and Janice mentioned before, that was left over as carryover to fill in for any things that were, any items that were emergency or underestimated. So Chris, I don't know if you want to
Could you come up to them?
comment, you were in on some of those meetings and I did speak with you.
So if I could suggest, and we can't have further discussions in public, some of this might be better understood and discussed in executive session because it's somewhat sensitive, although trustee Dressrock.
You have to have a,
That's
I
what
can
I'm-
tell you for exec session, it has to just, if you want to
It
discuss.
would be potential litigation and it also involves employment of personnel.
Okay. We can do that. You want to do
But
that, you guys?
I think it would definitely help the rest of the board members understand and possibly make a decision. But at any rate,
Well, can I,
yeah, go ahead.
quick question. So the information you're reluctant to put out in public, is that sensitive information? That would,
Yes.
it is sensitive. Okay. That would deal with litigation or employment.
Well, we can't discuss litigation without counsel. We do have
Yeah, sure.
David still on here, so.
Okay.
No. Based upon everything I know, it would be advantageous if we were able to keep Springfield. No, but there are some caveats to that. Again, I think you'd understand better.
You okay with that, Jim?
Yeah,
Exec
more
session.
information we have, the better.
I think we should.
Right now, I'd be a mix A on this. So if you want to wait till executive session to share
Okay.
some sensitive information, I'm fine for that.
All right. Thank you. Chief?
Okay,
I'm not sure what that means for the temporary appropriations though.
well, we'll just put it off to the side for now.
Yeah, can we wait until it would go back to
Yeah.
We'll go
public?
back to it.
Let's wait till we go back to public now.
Well, can I,
If there's other questions you could ask.
I guess I'm curious, Janice, I mean, on the temporary appropriations, if we drop this down by the $32,000 that's being borne between the three departments, and would that really change this temporary appropriation?
It would just change the totals, but
Right, but it
You
wouldn't
can
prevent us
approve
from
it.
operating, right?
mhm.
I think just to expedite things and get our temporary appropriations in queue, we should proceed. Now, I have one other question. You mentioned service department is sharing 10% of this, Jewel. And I thought when we were going through our hard budget discussions last year and even this fall, that we mentioned we were going to change the allocations amongst the departments.
Yeah, we can do that.
So I'd like to get services 10% and have fire and the police share in that with them.
So have administration be 10%, service be 10%, and police and fire 40?
I thought we were going to say service was 0, actually.
Okay. So
And so was
I thought we
ours.
already did.
I thought we did a year ago,
we,
but as we sit here, and we talked
No,
about
we
it,
were talking about making administration and service completely on fire.
completely on fire and police.
For
I
this-
think that's
for this
correct.
coming year.
Yes.
There were
Yeah.
several discussions that happened. One was
You
by
take
pro rata.
30% and split it, you'll each be 50, you'll be 50/50. I believe that was what I,
That was one of the
so
discussions.
administration wouldn't pay anything either?
no.
I think administration should pay on IT,
Yes, this
Yes.
is separate from
Yeah.
IT.
but on dispatch,
In fact, all 4 departments pay IT.
right,
Okay.
right.
Just dispatch split between fire and police.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Do you, gentlemen, you agree?
Well,
That was my impression, we already agreed to, you know.
one question about that is we did, I can't remember what we agreed to. But I'm fine with 50/50, but I think there was a discussion about per use. So there was a number of uses going out throughout the
We
year.
mean for police and fire?
Yeah. And dividing that up. I don't remember that discussion. I don't have an issue with it either way.
Yeah, at some point, you're splitting the, I can't use the synonym I want to use here.
Splitting hairs?
Splitting hairs, thank you.
Some of that discussion also involved the COVID money that you wanted fire to have a larger percentage of the payroll
Right.
allocated to them.
But so we're gonna split the,
But they have shared,
Dispatch.
they have paid the same amount for dispatch for a number of years.
Okay.
If
so
you
we
want to
can
change
do
that.
it for this year and then we'll see where we stand on the next phase
50.
of COVID money.
So we're saying 50-50 on dispatch for police and fire.
Well, it's temporary appropriation, so we can change it.
Okay.
Would the fire and police budgets be able to, well, with the COVID money, should be able to bore the expense this year?
Yeah.
I would like to know roughly what the increase would be for fire and police, what they paid from last year, what they'll pay this year.
Well, I can maybe get that by the end of the meeting, but I don't have that number now.
Okay, it'd be an interesting number is all.
So if we can do this at the end of the meeting, I can make the adjustments to the numbers. I don't have, obviously, the correct totals on this resolution, so I'll have to
Okay.
recalculate it.
We can do it when
Yeah.
after the exec session, could we?
Okay.
Okay. My next request is approval of a resolution establishing certain organizational items for Copley Township for employees for 2021. So the resolution that you have in front of you is updated with 2021 amounts, figures, dates, and so forth. And the highlighted yellow items are things that you can discuss and decide on what your preference is. Do we agree to continue holding regular meetings per month on the second and fourth Mondays at 6:00 PM?
So you didn't highlight the number 2. And I'm just curious if we can go to 1, go to 4.
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
Number of meetings.
per month.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't highlight that. Yes, it can be, certainly be, we can meet weekly if you'd like.
I would prefer to move it from Monday back to Tuesday. But I'll defer to my peers.
Would it be the second and fourth Tuesday?
Does that interfere with something else? We go first and third if you want.
First and third does interfere.
Stick second and fourth on Mondays or on Tuesdays, Scott?
I'm okay.
You're on Tuesdays?
Yeah,
Tuesdays.
I was thinking 6:30.
You want to switch to 6:30? I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I have no issue with that either.
all right.
I've had a couple comments from constituents saying the meetings used to be at 6:30, I'd be able to make it, now I can't.
You know, when I
So-
looked at city council meetings, a lot of them start at 7:30.
So I'm good with 6:30. We'll go 6:30 Tuesdays?
Yeah. 6:30 Tuesdays, second and fourth.
Yeah, I mean, let's make
It's
it
up to
so
us. I mean,
we should make it so people can get here and participate.
Okay. The next highlighted item is just that I added in that the meetings are posted on the township website and social media platforms, because we do put it out on Facebook and so forth. The next item was a request by the fiscal officer. When meetings are held virtually using the GoToMeeting platform, the public portion of the meeting will be recorded using the technology provided through that platform. I believe the request is probably to record it through virtual, but I wanted to specify GoToMeetings because I don't know if that platform will always be the platform we choose. And I don't know if the other platforms offer the recording option. So this is for a year. I anticipate we'd probably be using it for a year.
Yeah, the GoToMeeting has a service which we pay for, and it's a transcription service that all of our voices, I mean, everything, they record everything, and it's in Word format. So all I have to do is go in and edit it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good.
The provision of health, life, and liability insurance. Currently, non-bargaining unit employees contribute 7% of the premium charged for the level for which they receive benefits. That has been that's an option that you can change if you would,
Bargaining units are currently at 7%.
yes.
Can we go back to go-to meetings? Do we need to put anything here that we will continue to do broadcast our meetings as well?
It does not have to be in a resolution. Just in speaking with Nick Sattler, our IT guy, he has had some issues with other communities that do have it in their charter and do have it as a resolution. If for whatever reason this doesn't work,
Right.
you can't hold the meeting.
Yeah, we don't want that. We
So-
discussed this before, but it'd be my opinion that even after COVID's over, if we have the ability to broadcast it, I would continue to do that. I have heard from several people that they do like seeing our meetings on. They can't make it up here. They've got childcare issues, or whatever.
Sure.
But that does not need to
But
be. in here,
doesn't need
correct?
to. Right.
Okay, thank you.
So the insurance contribution also goes along with on page 2, the salary to remain the same for 2021.
Can that be adjusted if the bargaining unit members negotiate a wage increase?
Yeah, you can always amend these resolutions to indicate what you want. There was a option by our labor attorney to see if he wanted to do, because we have made this offer to the
I read that email as well. In light of that information, I would make a motion to give the non-bargaining unit members a 2% wage increase. So die for lack of second, which is fine as well.
I don't know how you can do that. We don't have any agreement for bargaining.
Well,
Bruce, would it be better off if it said that
We make it retroactive.
wages for all non-bargaining, non-contractual employees will remain the same unless the unions agree to an increase?
well, there was an email.
We don't have a resolution yet.
We just made them retroactive.
Yeah, just let me.
That's fine with me as well.
You just make it retroactive. Whatever the final number is,
Okay.
that's it, and everybody gets.
I'll withdraw my motion then.
The next item under fiscal officer was another request from the fiscal officer that warrants will be issued for accounts payable invoices according to the attached schedule, which appears as an attachment to the resolution. Fireman's Indemnity Fund Board. We have had trustee Dressler and trustee Colner serve as trustee members of the fund board. That's open for discussion.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, it's a fund for, it's funds that go to a family helped administered by us and others on the board as well, for line of duty deaths,
Okay.
which currently we do not pay out for that, but we have in the past. We had a firefighter die of a heart attack years ago. His family received funds from this fund.
So
Until she
similar
passed.
to blue coats. Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay. First responders. Okay. Scott and Bruce, you both comfortable maintaining that?
Yeah, that's fine. Chief Bauer, you're still on it, correct?
Yes.
It's required to revise code or something.
That's a state run.
Right.
Yeah. We have, that's point you just.
So those were the only changes noted on the reorganizational resolution. Of course, all of it is open to question if you would like to make any changes. The attached schedules then will change to the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month at 6:30 p.m. The holidays are as indicated by the federal calendar. Payroll periods were prepared by the fiscal office. Cemetery fees, Mr. Mitchell did not indicate any changes necessary in the cemetery fees. In the community and economic development fee schedule, Mr. Klein is suggesting that we put in an additional application fee to update existing conditional use by the BZA at $100, and to have a differential between the types of variance, one being a residential variance added in as at $250, and then the commercial variance being at $500.
So I'd like to interject here for a second. This is a conversation I had with Mr. Klein several weeks ago. Currently, variances were $500, both residential and commercial, if you don't recall. Commercial, I didn't have a problem with, but the residential seemed a little bit out of line in accordance with our neighbors. So he looked at that along with Ms. Graffier and suggested a reduction. I was actually pushing for a reduction greater than this. However, there is some, there's a reason why there should not be a huge differential between commercial and residential. It looks poorly if you're trying to service or increase wages or increase the revenue from one area and not the other. So I'm a proponent for that.
So this represents a fee decrease.
By $250.
Residential, yeah.
50% wage or 50% fee reduction.
Comes out of loud.
And in the beginning, just so we're all clear, the zoning department was using those fees to cover their fees as well, because they pay each zoning board member to attend the meeting. So they have to advertise, they have to put signs up. So when somebody goes in for a variance, we bear costs for that. However, they're semi-infrequently done, and I didn't see that there was a real reason to make it so. We can't do it for free, or everybody would come in for variances, but we have to make it, I thought, more palatable.
Citizens, good thought.
Do you want to try and get loud and on again? We tried to get you on loud.
You can't hear me?
No.
Loudon, can you call in separately?
Bruce, can you hear me? This is Dave.
Just call my cell phone.
Loudon, can you call Bruce?
Mr. Klein, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
There's an issue with the speakers in there because David and me are texting and he keeps talking and you're not hearing him either.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, well, that's a problem.
Yeah, he's talking back and forth sometimes and I don't think you're hearing him either. So you're not going to be able to hear anybody virtually. I'm not sure what's going on, but if you can all hear me, yeah, the fees, I think Bruce covered it pretty much. We don't want to really entice variances if the fee's too low. And then the money that's collected off those fees still goes back to pay the board and commission members for their attendance in the meetings. But it's a nice differential. The fee is half because when you are dealing with commercial entities, they can, pay much more. The amount of work they're doing is much more substantial. In residential, typically the variances are just for setbacks and sheds and a much smaller ask. Therefore, the request to have a $500 fee is a bit excessive at times. Additionally, on the BZA, I don't know if we touched on that. So typically, if you, for a conditional use, if you're doing a change or an update to that, we've been charging a $500 fee in addition to that. Which from our perspective seemed a bit excessive. If you've already paid $500 to get the conditional use to come back and pay $500, again, to just do a small update, we're suggesting just a $100 fee to that, just for an update. So those are the only two changes.
Sounds fair.
Thank you, sir. You can stay on the line, on the phone here, okay?
All right, go ahead, Janice.
The only other changes were in the EMS billing fees. Chief Bauer consulted with our Life Force Management Collection Agency, and they suggested these fees more in line with what Akron is charging.
Chief, are those set by Medicare somewhat too?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Reimbursements are set. So in other words, I don't know if this is where you're going. You could increase these as much as you want. You're going to reach a point where
Where
you're
would
not
it
going
be
to
going?
increase what you get.
Great. And this is in accordance with what Medicare will reimburse?
It is, and it's also, we look at what is in line with our neighbors, our public service neighbors, what they're doing. We don't want to be the highest, but we don't want to be the lowest. Ultimately, this is still, even though insurance and Medicaid and Medicare pay these fees, we want to be fair.
And we're still, if we're talking about that, still soft billing residents,
Yes.
so that they don't pay any co-pays. Okay, thank you.
So I would request approval of the resolution, given the change in meeting day to Tuesday and time to 6:30.
So move.
Second Schulte.
One quick comment, there might be a date or two where I will ask to switch the Monday, the first Tuesday meeting in the month to that Monday. That may align with some other,
That's fine.
Of course.
if it's
We've done
possible.
that. We've figured out how to maneuver.
So I'll need to amend the copy that I have and the meeting schedule dates. At some point, you can come in and just sign it.
But we didn't
you
ask-
can approve it.
I'm sorry, but is that going to be okay with other members here?
Tuesdays.
Ms. Piper?
I'm sorry.
Tuesday is okay with you?
Yeah, fine.
Sorry, I didn't want to be rude and not ask if there's more than us in attendance here.
No, that's fine.
So my motion was included the changes Ms. Marshall mentioned, the dates.
Oh, well, the dates, we can just change this
Yeah, I'll just change the schedule.
whenever, or we can change it next month. He did that this year.
Yeah, you're right.
After we organized, Jim, after we organized, we went in and changed dates, so you don't have to change it today.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
All right, any other questions, discussion? Linda, please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler,
Yes.
trustee Colner,
Yes.
trustee Schulte.
Yes.
The next item I have is approval of a resolution to issue a purchase order for the maintenance and operations of the regional 800 megahertz radio system from January 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2021. The total amount being $19,800, split between administration at $120, service department $3,240, the police department $7,800, and the fire department $8,640. That's based on the number of radios in each department.
So moved.
Second Schulte.
Discussion.
As I recall, that's the allocation we came up with just last year, right, Janice?
Yes.
Linda, please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler,
Yes.
trustee Colner,
Yes.
trustee Schulte.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought it was-
The next item I have is in regard to the policy manual changes that have been posted. So I would request permission to amend the Township Policy Manual, Section 806, confidential information to include language covering information received facilitating credit card transactions. It has been posted since December 1st, 2020. It is this policy here. And the red is the change that we would like to add, stating authorization is granted by the Copley Township Fiscal Officer with Board of Trustee approval to township personnel responsible for processing or facilitating credit card transactions with those doing business with the township. Township personnel authorized to process credit card transactions are required to follow all policies and procedures put forth by the fiscal office to ensure that all appropriate measures are taken to protect sensitive information. Employees violating this policy will be subject to discipline up to and including termination and may be subject to legal action.
So move.
Second Schulte.
Discussion.
So this is the policy that we're speaking of earlier.
No, this is,
So this is the.
This
Correct?
is the policy that we were
Right.
putting into to ensure that our personnel treat all information confidentially.
This was posted December 1st.
But it says in here, yes, correct, I'm sorry. Yep. So this says in here that it'll follow the procedure, which the fiscal office could write the procedure. Correct?
Mhm.
Any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. I vote yes.
Yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. My next item is to request permission to amend the Township Policy Manual, Section 403, use of credit cards, as posted since December 1st, 2020. This is a policy that had been written by the fiscal office on our department heads and our personnel using credit cards. The changes are highlighted in red. It was posted December 1st in all of the departments. And I can answer any questions if you have any.
So move.
Second Schulte.
Discussion.
Was there any information came back from,
No.
okay, from the employees?
I think one of the things that we talked about back on December 7th was the Board of Trustees will appoint a compliance officer who's not an authorized user.
Correct.
Do we know who that compliance officer is going to be?
I have a suggestion.
Send it.
I would suggest Janet Iverson, because she does not have authority to use a credit card. She deals with these statements and has all of the information available readily and can file the reports that are required by the policy.
Okay.
That's okay with fiscal and she's your employer?
absolutely, be great.
Employee? Okay.
And in this policy, Linda, it says that fiscal is going to present credit card account transactions detailed for the previous month to the board.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want them monthly or do you want them like quarterly or once or, maybe we can put them with the bank rec?
Well, in here it says from the previous month.
Okay.
Monthly to the board. So
Okay.
I guess that's what you're going to do.
Do it monthly.
We've got all the users in here. Okay.
There's a motion in a second.
Any other discussion? You okay? I didn't know if you want to add a compliance officer to the motion that we're appointing Janet, or is it going to be a separate, do you have to?
Yeah, it should be excellent.
No, I'm saying, does it need to be part of the?
I would not because she could leave tomorrow. We need to appoint another one.
That's fine. Okay.
I hope not.
All right, then we'll have call for the question. I vote yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. And then I have a request to granting permission for the township administrator to act as the designated representative to NOPEC for the Community Events Sponsorship Grant Program. They offer $750 this year for an event to be held in the township. And in order to process the application and documents, they need to have a designated representative.
So move.
Second, Schulte.
Discussion. Call for the question. I vote yes.
Kohler, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. The only other thing I have is a request for an executive session to discuss benefits of employment in the fire department.
Okay, anything else for Janice? All right. Chief Bauer.
Good evening again, everyone. First item for consideration, or I should say reconsideration, is the table resolution to accelerate the payment back to the general fund for money that was advanced by self-contained breathing apparatus. There was a question whether or not paying the full amount back all at one time would run us tight in this one. Conversations with Ms. Marshall say the simple answer is no, but would probably not allow for maximum contribution, similar to what Trustee Schulte was talking about, to a capital reserve fund.
In the first quarter.
Now, if you're asking preference of the department head, if possible, I'd like to get this off of our plate. And since those contributions to reserve accounts can be made at any time, I would prefer to clean this up and then move on and make those contributions later.
So move.
Second, Schulte.
Discussion. We tabled it and then
Yes.
so a question you had that needed answered, I don't recall.
Yeah, the question was, we weren't sure if there was enough funds in that fund, enough money in that fund account to pay it.
Oh.
That was the question we had.
All right. So we're good now?
Yes.
Any other question? Linda, please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler,
Yes.
trustee Colner,
Yes.
trustee Schulte.
Yes.
And my only other issue for the board is to have executive session to discuss employment of part-time personnel in the fire department. And with that, that's all I have unless the board has anything.
Anything else for Chief Bauer? Thank you, sir.
That's pretty good. That's pretty.
That's no record.
Good.
I thought I was on track.
Well done, Chris.
I'll see.
Wow, a challenge.
I'll try.
The watermark. Chief Meyer, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you. We have two requests this evening. Requesting a purchase order in the amount of $4,860 to Forward Thinking to upgrade the automatic vehicle locator units for the police cruisers. All our marked police cruisers have this AVL unit, automatic vehicle locator, in which the dispatchers can keep track of where the cruisers are and also records the path the cruisers take in case that comes up in an issue at a later time. And due to changes in technology, I believe are related to this new 5G situation, these units will cease to work in the near future, so they have to be replaced. The equipment is free. It will be replaced in cruisers, but we have to re-enter into a new agreement with Forward Thinking for a 3-year period of time in the amount of $4,860, which would cover the user fees. So I'm seeking permission to enter into that agreement with them, which is at the same price that we had before. It's the same.
An exact number of units.
Yeah, this is for 9 units. And $15 a month for each unit. For 3 years.
So move for discussion.
Second Schulte.
Discussion.
So sir, this amount was budgeted in for your previous year, correct? We're just entering in another agreement to extend it.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we've been paying annually. It's just that we're entering into this agreement.
So this is not an addition to your 2020
No,
budget.
it's not.
Okay, thank
And this is only coming about because of this change in technology.
Anything else? Linda, please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler,
Yes.
trustee Colmer,
you. Yes.
and trustee Schulte.
Yes.
And the next item is basically a housekeeping item, which is accepting a check in the amount of $4,269.42 from the state of Ohio for the second quarter of the 2020 to 2021 DARE grant, which is actually coming from the Ohio Attorney General's office.
So move Schulte.
Second Colmer.
Discussion. Call for the question. I vote yes.
Colmer, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. And as a matter of information, you know that I report on you weekly of activity taking place in the police department, and off and on for the past few months, there has been person or persons that have been stealing items out of unlocked cars in vehicles and driveways in neighborhoods. This is not unique to Copley. It's happening all over Northeast Ohio. It's become a new crime, primarily among individuals that seem to be addicted to heroin. And they're typically nonviolent criminals going through neighborhoods all over, looking at cars, trying doors. The doors are open, open the car door, take whatever's inside. And we identified recently two individuals, we didn't identify them in particular, just identified them, two separate individuals, one working on the west side, one working on the east side. And our officers did arrest the one who was working on the west side on the early morning hours of Friday, December the 18th. And the officers did an excellent job of tracking this individual through fresh snow for probably 2.5 hours. Initial call came in from somebody who said they saw a guy running through the backyard. When the officers got there, they followed tracks in the snow through numerous streets on the west side and ended up in Heritage Woods arresting the suspect, who is typically a resident of Northfield Village, but had been staying in our hotels off and on Montrose West in recent weeks. Now he's been charged with several offenses, and we're making efforts to return some of the property that we have recovered. But again, this individual is also committing thefts in other communities. In fact, I received a call from a friend of mine who formerly served as a police chief in another community in the county, who, when he saw we made the arrest, recognized this guy as having been his neighbor, who he believes stole $9,000 worth of tools from his shed at Warren, which was actually a burglary, which wasn't the types of crimes we're experiencing thefts from cars. So we're still encouraging all of our residents to keep the car doors locked. This person not really breaking into cars, just opening them.
Has the east side, is there any,
Still happening on the east side in various locations. So, still watching. And that's all I have.
Anything else for Chief Meyer? Okay. Mr. Mitchell,
Thank you.
how's your Christmas in your plow truck?
Very long.
Very long.
We work Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
So we got at least one day off for the holiday. We were grateful for that. One request for the board tonight, that's a request approval of a resolution for purchase order to Cargill De-icing Technologies in the amount of $85,000 to purchase road salt. Now, this $85,000 represents about half of our remaining minimum commitment to the present contract with Cargill. Salt is $71.89 per ton. We committed to 3,000 tons. We're on a 20% plus or minus contract, so minimum amount of salt we need to buy each year is 2,400. I believe I said $79 to Ms. Marshall this afternoon. I was in error about that. But 85,000, our stockpile is quite low. We're down to just a few 200, 300 tons. I'd like to resupply that barn that we have down there. It's got a capacity of 1,000 tons. So this 85,000, we'll restock that barn with 1,000 tons, and we should be in pretty good shape for the next few snowstorms.
So move Schulte.
Second. Discussion.
Just to note that this is also increasing the 2020 permanent appropriations. So he does not have $85,000
Ooh.
appropriated in 2020 for operating expenses. So this is amending the appropriation.
How much does he have?
I can tell you in a minute.
How much does he have left?
I don't know.
Or sold?
I don't have the reports.
Well, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, aren't we? I mean, we can't leave the roads go unsalted.
Correct.
I know we're close to the end of the year. Leftover will hopefully reduce the 2021 expenses.
And also remember that he has the levy issue with the certificate. So there isn't money that
Right.
is available to appropriate in 2021.
Okay.
So we
This
have to use
contract
some
goes
of,
all the way to September also.
Okay,
So it's not like it ends right here.
right.
And it goes all the way to September.
And my point is, you're not going to use 1,000 tons. Probably not between now and December 31st.
I wouldn't say that at all. I wouldn't say that at all. 3,000 ton commitment I've made for the township for the last dozen years, and we have fallen within that 20% every year.
Right.
He's talking about from now to the end of this year.
In the next
Oh,
three
I see.
or 4
1,000
days.
tons?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say we will.
Really?
Between now and the end of this year.
Possible, sure. We don't
Wow.
know what the weather's gonna be like. We've already
He
gone through
means
almost
by
1,000
Friday.
now. By Friday, no.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Right,
what
right,
it
right,
said.
right.
Yeah.
My mistake.
By Thursday, actually,
No,
it's the last
God,
day
I
of the
hope
year.
not.
Yeah, right. So effectively, we're pre-buying 2021 salt is my point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes.
Just a comment about the guys working over the holiday. They did a great job. They were in for many, many hours. And I commend them for all the work that they did. They worked their tails off and they did a great job. So, kudos to them.
So we had some close relatives come over at different times during the holidays. And we maintained social gathering, distancing, and they came from Akron. And 2 different people, 2 different times said, once we got to Copley, the roads were clear.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. We do our best for what the crew
Yeah.
we've got. So it's great to hear.
I'd also like to comment on their attitude when they were here today, walking around, taking recycling and so forth. And we were all, oh, how was your holiday? And they did not gripe and complain. They were very upfront and, not happy that they weren't at home with their families, but certainly not complaining and not griping, and really had a great attitude.
And I received a screenshot from a family member that follows social media. And this is from a township resident that states, Copley Township sure does a great job on their streets plowing snow. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that. We appreciate that very much. One other item, I'd just like to say thank you to all the people that made Sand at the Park possible. The fire department, police department, Larissa Hunt from CED, Sue Mack, CERT, and LV Sound with Lee Volkoff, and of course, Sandy himself, Bruce. Thank you very much. Special thanks to Mike's daughter, Julianne, for supplying the idea of having pictures of the elves, kept the kids entertained. We didn't have a great crowd there, but we had 125 cars roll through, and all the kids seemed to have a really good time. So thanks to everybody involved with that. They made it a fun time for the kids for the last weekend. So thank you very much. And with that, that's all I have for the board.
Anything else from Mark?
Thanks again.
Sir.
Thank you.
All right, Loudon, we got you on the phone? Loudon? Oh, good. Yes. All right. Before you start, it would be correspondence where we had, the resignation letter from Bill Daniels for your department. Here it is. Dear Mr. Dressler, Copley Board of Trustees, the letter formally resigning my position at Copley Township Zoning Commission effective December 31st, 2020. Appreciate the board selecting me several years ago to serve. I'm resigning to devote more time to other volunteer activities which I'm involved, and it will take a great deal of my time. Sincerely, William Daniel. I just want to throw that in there that he did correspond. So go ahead, sir, you're on.
Thank you. My first request is a resolution approving the purchase orders and blanket certificates for 2021. You should have those listed out before you in the resolution, all of which are accounted for in the temporary appropriations discussed previously this evening. I think there's just 5 of those. If you wanted me to go into any detail on any specific one, I'd be happy to. If there are any questions as well.
So move.
Second, Kohler.
Discussion. Linda, please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler,
Yes.
trustee Colner,
Yes.
trustee Schulte.
Yes.
Thank you. The next request is a motion approving the appointments of personnel to the zoning commission. This will be the appointment of Bill Albright and Gary Warner as regular members, and then Dan O'Brien as an alternate.
So move, Schulte.
Second, Kohler.
Discussion.
I'm sorry, will we need to, with Mr. Daniel leaving, does that fix all your openings the way you just read it?
No, there remains one vacancy as a regular member on the zoning commission, and there remains one opening as an alternate as well on the zoning commission.
So then the alternate, that Mr. O'Brien would be acting as a member, not an alternate then? Is that how that works?
Yes, if he can attend. I think in my conversations with him, it was, he just wants to see how the meetings flow and the material that's discussed. So I think he was going to kind of listen in January meeting and then try and, continue to participate February. So when I did speak with him and discuss this, and, the alternate position sounded the best fit for him, what he desired. And then we, a few days later, received the resignation from Mr. Daniels. So I can follow up with Mr. O'Brien and let him know of this, and encourage him to be a regular participant if he can attend.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know how that flow worked.
Yeah, like I said, I think he wanted to remain an alternate, but we'll let him know that we'll definitely need his attendance until we can find another contact or another person to step up. So continue to spread the word. We send it out, put it in the papers, and continue to publicize that as much as possible. But we still need to fill a couple slots on the zoning commission.
All right. Anything else on that? Call for the question. I vote yes.
Kohler, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. The next request is a motion approving appointments of personnel to the Board of Zoning Appeals. This will be the reappointment of Noreen Dar as a regular member and the reappointment of Kyle Nelson and David Newmeyer as alternates.
So move, Schulte.
Second, Kohler.
Discussion. Call for the question. I vote yes.
Kohler, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. The next one is the motion approving the appointments of personnel to the Architectural Review Board. This will be the reappointment of Christine Davis as a regular board member. We do have one remaining vacancy as an alternate as well for the Architectural Review Board.
So move, Schulte.
Second, Kohler.
Discussion.
So you have one alternate vacancy on the ARB. BZA is completely full, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else? Call for the question. I vote yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. And my last item is discussion on the water and sewer update. So we have a meeting scheduled on January 13th with Summit County Department of Sanitary Sewer Services as a follow-up meeting to our November 18th meeting with Summit County and City of Akron. So we're going to touch base with them, see what our options are for sewer extension and the further expansion of Summit County Sewer in Copley. And we are also communicating, we've been communicating through email with the City of Akron to have a follow-up meeting with them as well to discuss options with our current JET agreement with the City of Akron and put some options before them for specific projects and other items discussed at our November 18th meeting. So working on scheduling meetings with both parties. Additionally, we are working with legal to put together a agreement for the Autobahn property for the Sunset Drive improvements. So I spoke to Mr. Firestein last week. He's got a draft put together, so we will hopefully get that inked soon. And lastly, we continue to work with Environmental Design Group as a follow-up to the special meeting held several weeks ago on water and sewer priority projects. So they have put some maps and information together based on the trustees' recommendation at that meeting. And I believe everything appears to be encompassed in those maps. So they will be doing a final presentation here in the coming weeks and wrapping that up. But I believe everything that we indicated in that special meeting has been shown.
Loudon, is
That's all done.
Loudon, is that presentation going to be made to the full board of trustees, or is it just going to be made to yourself and Janice? And
No, we are encouraging them to do a full presentation to the trustees once they've got everything. You know, that's why we held a special meeting and some of these work sessions to hash a lot of the details out. And then once they get it finalized, have a nice package put together for the trustees.
okay. There was last meeting we discussed the thought that part of their engagement earlier this year was that they would assist the township in completing a couple of grant applications. Did you go back and research that?
I did not have a chance to look at the contract yet. I don't know if Ms. Marshall has. But again, we'll be speaking, I'll be speaking with Dwayne. We've held off on a couple of meetings the last 2 Fridays. But I will, I'll put that on the calendar to discuss, or on the agenda to discuss with him on Friday.
Okay, I'm sure it's in there because in my mind, it was a matter of this contract would effectively pay for itself, assuming we get the grant money. So I just want to make sure, because there's an invoice on Linda's desk that she's asked us to approve. And in there, they talk about the fact that they're 90% done on everything. And I don't know if that's the case.
Okay. Well, I'll email Ms. Marshall tomorrow and we can get a copy. We can review the contract. And again, I can reach out and follow up with Dwayne definitely on Friday and get some clarification on what those terms were.
Okay. Thanks, Loudon.
Yep.
All right. Anything else for Loudon? Thank you, sir. Old business?
I do have one thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry to spring this on you, but got to. Pass those down. This is a resolution to remove properties from the Copley Akron Joint Economic Development District. I'm going to read it for the record. Whereas Copley Township and the City of Akron are partners in the JED established on July 21, 1994. Whereas Section 3 of the JED agreement provides for the purpose of the agreement is to facilitate economic development. And whereas economic development generally requires sanitary sewer, whereas the owners of property at 2360 Copley Road, DK Dental Lab, 3261 Copley Road, Great Lakes Industrial Life, 3636 Copley Road, which is the Copley Business Center, and 3902 Copley Road, which is the gas station down by 21. Here and after the requesting properties, after paying JED taxes for 25 years and not being provided adequate access to sanitary sewer, have previously requested removal from the JED pursuant to Section 5. And whereas on August 24th, 2020, the Copley Board of Trustees previously passed Resolution 2020-122, requesting the JED Board commit to a plan for extension of sanitary sewer service to these properties within 60 days. And whereas more than 120 days have passed and the JED Board has failed to provide such a plan, whereas there's several prior amendments to the JED agreement provide precedent for removal of properties from the JED, and whereas it is unconscionable to expect owners of the requesting properties or similarly situated taxpayers to continue to pay taxes and get nothing in return. Now therefore be it resolved that the Copley Township Board of Trustees approves the immediate removal of the requesting properties from the JED with the understanding that if sanitary sewer services subsequently become available, the requesting properties will be required to petition for readmission into the JED territory before sanitary sewer or water service connections occur. Moreover, the Copley Board of Trustees anticipates that the City of Akron, as our partner in the JED, will seek to cure this injustice that has been inflicted on these requesting properties and expeditiously pass concurring legislation for the requesting properties to be removed from the JED.
Is there a second?
I didn't hear it first. Did you make a motion?
So move.
I'll second for discussion.
Go ahead. I just want to comment, David, for council.
Wait. You can't call. Loud, I'm going to hang up with you and let.
Have him call me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Call me.
David, can you call Janice Marshall, please?
Sure.
Hi, David.
Hi, Janice.
And you're on speaker.
Okay, hi, everybody.
Hi, Dave.
Okay, it just seems, the tone of your letter seems to be you're trying to make a legal argument here, Jim, and you are not the counsel for the Copley Township Board of Trustees.
Indeed, I am not.
Okay, thank you. David, did you familiar with Jim's resolution here? Okay. Sorry.
Can you still hear us, Mr. Firestein?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can hear you now.
okay. All right, Jim has proposed a resolution to remove properties from the Copley and Akron Joint Economic Development based on an interpretation of the JED agreement, which I think is a legal
David,
contract.
I just emailed it to you for your review. I was careful with my words in here. I want everybody on this board and listening to know, it's careful with my words. And it really isn't a matter of, it's less a matter of what the JED agreement says and doesn't say, and more a matter of what's right for these property owners. It would be unconscionable for us to charge fire and sewer and water, fire and police levies to a property we weren't protecting. We wouldn't do that. Nor should we similarly.
You can hear him through the phone.
Yeah.
Phones are
You
too
can
close.
hear him through the phone, that's what.
Oh, we can hear Jim.
So
Dave needs to mute his speakers on his computer.
All right, David, do you hear that? Can you mute your computer speaker?
All right. So my only point, the point I'm trying to make it is I just want to do what's right for these property owners. They've requested to be removed. They're paying taxes, not getting any benefit for it. It's simply time. It's not a matter of we're trying to, how can I say this? We're not trying to do anything underhanded or try to push Akron to come to the table with us. That's really not a function here. The function of this is simply to do what's right for these property owners and stop having them pay taxes for services they're not getting.
We did already request these properties to be removed, am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, we haven't requested, no. We have not requested these properties. We have received letters from the property owners requesting they be removed. And back in August, this board passed a resolution requesting the JED board commit to a plan for sanitary services within 60 days or remove them. But nothing substantially happened. And rather than have the months slip into additional years, we should follow up on our August 24th, 2020 resolution where we said, let's do something within 60 days. And we should get these properties out of the JED until we make plans to get them sewer.
So we discussed, we requested these properties to be removed.
We did. So what I recall, we said, remove them. We sent a resolution. Well, I know we sent a resolution because it came into discussion when I had a meeting with Mary Horrigan. We sent a resolution removing these, come up with a resolution to give them sewer or remove them within 60 days.
And we received a response from the city, am I correct?
No, we haven't received anything.
In the JED meeting?
No, not that I recall.
I certainly tried to raise the issue in the JED meeting, as you may recall. But it was not on the agenda.
Okay. David?
Yes.
All right, so I guess my take on this, it is based on, we have correspondence with the city of Akron in regard to removing properties, specific properties from the JED. And they were letters with attorneys, and I contend that this, at this point, is a pending litigation and should be discussed in executive session, and it is not just something that would be put in a resolution without advice from counsel.
Yeah, well, I think the previous direction that we had discussed was that Loudon and I, Klein and I, a drive with the city and Summit County to work toward a resolution. We've had one meeting to that effect. I don't have the date in front of me right now, but it was maybe a month ago. And we've been circulating emails to have another meeting on that, which is actually, I think, on our calendar now. It's kind of hard because I don't think Loudon can give feedback. Well, maybe he can, the way he's hooked up right now. We might have, I think, January 18th, maybe.
13th, I think it was. January 13th.
January 13th, we've got another meeting coming up with Summit County. So that was the path we were proceeding.
And I don't think that path has changed, David and Loudon. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that while we're working with our partner Akron to resolve this issue, these people shouldn't be expected to continue to pay taxes infinitum without a resolution on the horizon.
Again, Jim, you're interpreting the JED contract.
No question, Scott.
Okay.
I defer to legal counsel on the JED.
Just like
absolutely.
you continue to pay taxes and get nothing in return, we've already had this discussion with the city. They did run water. There is a revenue sharing in place. You put down here to cure an injustice. I mean, you're speaking in terms that litigious, and I don't agree with the process, and that's why I'm asking to consult counsel. If it's pending litigation, we could discuss it in an executive session with counsel.
it's certainly could be something that could turn into litigation. It could also be something that, I suppose the adoption or rejection of the resolution itself.
I think if a resolution like this should be written by council, that's all. Just the wording, I don't believe if you want to lead to potential pending litigation, then we would seek counsel for any action we take.
The purpose of this, again, is not to result in litigation. The purpose is actually to avoid litigation with these property owners.
Well, again, that's up to our attorney to make that
I agree.
recommendation.
That's why he makes the big dollars.
I have a couple.
You've only
concerns.
listed 4 properties.
Those are the only 4 requesting properties at this point. It'd be inappropriate for us to request somebody to remove somebody that hasn't requested.
All right, David.
Well, you're gonna say something, Bruce.
My comments is we've already asked the city to remove them. And they've told the city's resolve was to tell the property owners that they have to request us through us, which they did. So then we sent it to Akron, and Akron said they can't get out. It's not up to us. So there's an issue there that's purely litigious in manner. And I've got a question about, we have, although it has been delayed, in my opinion, needlessly delayed. We have given Mr. Klein and Mr. Firestein some latitude to negotiate a resolve to this. And it is clearly somewhat happening. I don't want to put up a roadblock to that now either. So I think I'd be inclined to discuss the litigious area first in executive session, and then come out of executive session and discuss anything that should be publicly aired.
As your wish.
All right.
Mr. Firestein, do you agree with that comment or not?
Executive session that I would be comfortable having right now in open forum. In terms of, strengths, weaknesses, and strategies.
There's, in my opinion, there's clearly some information that I think should be out there in the public, but I don't want to be detrimental to any possibilities of handling this in a legal fashion in the near future either. So again, I will state my opinion. Let's talk to Mr. Firestein in executive session about the legal matters, and then come out and discuss anything we can in open session.
All right. All right, so the resolution you're proposing, then you moved and seconded it has to be, let's say, discussed with council. You can leave it on the table.
We leave it on the table for executive session.
Okay. All right, David, you're available for executive session this evening?
Yes,
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Any other old business? New business? Correspondence? Go ahead.
There was one other piece of old business. We had talked about, I thought it was going to be at this meeting, and it just occurred to me, Janice, I'm sorry. We had talked about moving funds from fire and police into a capital reserve fund. We didn't do that yet, did we?
We did that at the last meeting.
Did we?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes,
it's 3 weeks ago, I'm sorry.
and I understand.
All right, thank you.
No, and what we were waiting on is figures from fiscal as to how much we can. So
Okay,
that has not happened yet. I don't believe, Linda, have the funds been set up and established?
Not yet. I got it.
okay, we'll beat you up next meeting about it.
Thank you.
Well, the problem is we can only move so much per year.
Correct. So we need figures
I can do
from fiscal for how much expenses were in 2019. So we have exact numbers as to what we can move. We can move 1/6 of those expenses.
that. In what fund?
You need to establish some capital project funds, one for police and one for fire, per the resolution at the
Right.
December 7th meeting.
Can we pass that resolution at the first meeting in 2021 or not 2019? Doesn't seem like we can.
We've already passed the resolution in 2020.
Okay,
Just need to-
so just determine the amounts.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thanks, James.
And I apologize, I missed one thing I wanted to bring up as well.
What?
Can the chiefs give us an update on Summit County Emergency Management, Summit County Health Department distributing the vaccine to first responders? Is that something we want to discuss? Do we need help with that? Should we discuss it in any other fashion? Okay.
For security reasons. And the benefits to employees.
If you don't know, I think you do. I'm not sure. The first responders became available for the vaccine, for the COVID vaccine on Saturday, the day after Christmas. And that runs until the end of this year. Apologize. Okay. I did not realize that. That it was never mentioned in our meetings.
All right. No one here publicly for business from the floor. And we have a request for executive session to discuss employment of personnel in the fire department and a request for executive session to discuss potential / pending litigation with counsel.
And employment of personnel in the fire department. Did you already say that? I'm sorry.
Scott, there was also an executive session for the temporary resolutions, wasn't there?
Oh, to discuss Swisscog.
Yes.
Confidential information in regard to the employment of personnel. Employee benefits of employees also in Swisscom. Anything else? I so move.
I'll second.
Discussion. Linda, please call the roll.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes.
All right, we will take a 5-minute recess and come back in executive session. Sorry, Dave. The gavel was by your phone. Bruce did it.
Yeah.